Randy and Debbie, Phase 1, Take 2.
Randy, I'm so worried about Betty Lou.
I am so worried about Betty Lou too because I went ahead and picked up a Target packet, which I found in the black little tray boxes that are in the box room for the coffee machine.
Room?
Yes, for the
oh, good, because I really wasn't sure where we could find one, so I'm glad that you picked one up for us.
I did. And you know, at our last meeting, Dale said, "Off with your head if you don't take your lowest 25%. Any child that we have the lowest 25% must go to Target."
Yes, and so I'm really glad you got that because I've been just so concerned. She's not making progress. We looked at her diagnostic score. I'm seeing problems at home and too. I mean, there are so many things going on and I'm really concerned about her. So let's get this packet filled out.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. There's a lot more forms than there used to be, Randy.
There are a lot more forms, girl, but we're like the dynamic duo. And we
Woo-hoo!
All right.
And I made sure to bring her Cume folder.
Yay!
Yes, because most of this information we can get from her Cume folder, or Lori Linkus can help us with some of the things as well on your
like attendance history and
yes.
things like that.
So
previous schools, we might need to know that. Also, we probably should have our diagnostic data here and ready.
Yes.
DRAs that are done, double scores that are back, any previous FCAT scores, because a lot of that information we're going to need.
Yes.
Some of it will be in the Cume folder, and when we start writing our goals for one of these sheets, we're going to need our current data to make it to write a measurable.
Absolutely. So we'll get all of our records together, get our Cume folders, and then anything we need from information for like Lori, we'll get that too before we get started.
You're brilliant.
All right, let's go.
Let's rock and roll.
Okay, so this first one is called the record review form. And so a lot of this I think is coming from her Cume folder.
Okay, and this is what we do. She's not been to Target yet. This is what we want to do before we even get on the schedule.
It doesn't really matter whether I've talked to Lauren, I've talked to Liz, it really doesn't matter. Before any of that can happen, we have to do this packet. And this page is the very first one, the record review.
Right, because Lauren is not a superwoman.
No.
And just because I tell her face to face does not mean
That
that's her
she's gonna get on the
responsibility
book.
to remember it.
So they're not getting on the book, Lauren said, until this packet is started. And so let's go through and then we'll figure out which page we have to turn into her. Okay.
Sounds good.
So the first thing we need to do is just fill out her name, her number, her grade, her date of birth, and the school and number. Easy.
Right at the top of the Cume folder.
Absolutely.
Every single bit of that information.
We're
Check.
done with that. Academic history. Well, it looks like it's asking whether she's been an ESOL, ESC. She's got a 504, retentions. Oh,
Ooh.
retentions.
You know what?
Might need to look through some report cards to find out if she's got some retentions.
Because Betty Lou is new, and I don't know her previous teachers.
Oh.
So she could have
That's
been
a good
retained
point.
like in kindergarten, but I need to know that.
Right.
Okay.
You know, usually it's easier if we know some of the kids that are here at Chet's Creek.
Right.
But you never know where we get students from, even out of county or out of state.
Or as they get older. If they're in 5th grade, you might not know that they did 2 years of 1st grade, but we should
Absolutely.
know that because they may make you think about that child differently.
Absolutely. So we're going to find out all that in the Cume folder.
Okay.
And then it says that we need to know about her vision and hearing screenings that she's had, whether she's passed or failed her.
Cume folder.
Cume folder. Attendance history. Lori.
We could
Lori.
definitely go to Lori, and she is so nice.
She
She's like the
is.
sweetest.
She'll look it up for you, or you could drop her a note.
Yep.
And that might help her
And
too.
she's quick to get it back.
And now you need to know the attendance history for 2 years, not just one. Medical concerns, well, you should know that because if it's a child of yours, you should have filled out that medical concern form in the beginning of the year.
Absolutely. If, say, for example, if we start looking back through Betty Lou's things, we find that part her mom did not turn in or did not fill out, we could call her.
We're going to have to call her anyway. We can ask them. Okay. Family history. And now, I think that there is another form that's going to go along with this because it says the developmental information form.
That's going to go home, isn't it?
Yeah, that goes
Okay.
home later, so we can just not worry about that part.
Don't have to fill that one out yet.
Achievement data. I think this part is really asking us, what is she doing on any assessments that we give her?
Data.
Data.
Data. You see data, I see data.
Woohoo! All right, we need the DRA score.
Got it.
So probably
That's-
her current DRA score.
Oh, most recent.
Yes.
And if it's been, let's see, if it's been about 6 weeks since we've done a DRA,
We probably need to do a running
we
record.
probably should do a running record.
Probably should.
Not a DRA because that's only done
Right.
3 times a year. But we could do a running record that would really get a very good measurable goal.
That's right. So when it says DRA, if it's been quite some time, like November. I'm not worried about her DRA back in August.
Right.
I'm looking at her running records for now.
She would do right.
Her dibbles, well, we all have that because we can get on the website to get it. If for some reason we don't have it already printed. And if they're upper grades, they could have their FCAT scores.
And if you're not sure about where to find your dibbles information, I'm pretty sure I know where in the website, and I have a password and a username. But I remember a time where I didn't, and I went to my literacy coach, and I asked her, and she was able to just.
Do you know who else might be able to help with that?
Who?
It's Tracy Carter.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
the one who inputted all the data.
She's super smart
Okay,
too.
so no matter what, we can get all that filled out.
Okay.
Disciplinary actions. What do you think they're talking about? Like referrals?
I would assume, or if they've ever been on a behavior contract before or anything like that.
Okay.
Liz Duncan would be a good person to go through. Referrals, a copy of referrals should be kept in their
Sometimes
folder.
Mo has done some disciplinary
That's true
action
for Bus.
too. And so we need to make sure that we cover all our bases with that one.
Okay.
Psychological data. Well, we probably don't have that right now unless we've looked through the keep folder and there's something in there.
Because there could have been, like if the child was in previously in ESE and placed out at some time.
And kindergarten students sometimes have been placed in a preschool program like
Right.
developmentally delayed. And so therefore they already have documentation. in
Q
there.
folder, again,
Q
so
folder.
important.
And a functional behavior assessment. Well, I think that is just purely for if we're bringing them to Target for behavior information, and I think that gets talked about with Lauren or Liz at the Target meeting. So I think we can skip that one right there.
Okay, unless it's a behavior. But Betty Lou, she's just the sweetest pie.
She is. That's not our issue. We really just got to help her academically.
Okay.
Okay, what's this form, Randy?
Ooh, teacher inputs. Okay, so this is going to be something that you and I are going to be talking about amongst ourselves.
It looks like some of the information up at the top is just some general information about her. What her name is, her guardians, her address and phone number, email, so those kind of things. How can we get a hold of the parents?
It also asks, is this an academic or a behavioral? Well, we know it's academic. Oh, and you know what else it says? Date of current progress monitoring plan. We need to put that on there because we definitely put Betty Lou.
Absolutely. PMPs were just at that time that we were doing PMPs, and this is coming about, so we have our PMP. And you know what? We need to make sure we get Mom to sign that too.
What?
She didn't come in for that conference.
Wait.
And this is a great time for that.
I'm telling you, you blow me away.
Two
Constantly.
birds, with
In
one stone. There we
Got
go.
it. We'll
All
get a
right.
signature.
And then so we need to describe our specific, exact, detailed concerns.
Oh, you mean so we can't put Betty Lou's having trouble reading?
No, we need to think about
That'd
what
been
she's having
easier.
trouble. You know, that fluency though has been a big issue for her. Specific details. I know they want to know exactly what the problem is. And us as teachers, we work so hard and we know what her problems are.
And you know what test that we give that has very specific fluency on it?
The dibbles.
The dibbles!
If her score is not meeting the goal in dibbles, then we know that too. And we know that through her reading conferences and her small groups and her guided reading groups. So we're good.
We should be good to go.
Okay. All right. This is really interesting the way that this is all set up
Well,
here
let's-
with these forms.
Let's look back here one more time. It says, what are the students' strengths, talents, and special interests? You know what? I really feel like this is an important section to fill out because it's really easy sometimes to think about the kids that are struggling in your classroom. Betty Lou's having trouble in reading. She's having trouble with fluency. She's having trouble writing anything that she wants to do during writing. But you know what? She's got a lot of really special gifts about her. She's got a lot of positive qualities. And I think we should think about those too and write those down.
I do, because just for an instance, she works so well with partners. She always gets along with everybody, so she works really well when she's working with a partner. We probably need to be thinking about that later.
And you know what else? A student's strength, you can capitalize on those and working them into their interventions, like a peer buddy
What a
for her.
great idea!
You know, because she does work so well with other
That is a
students.
fabulous idea.
Okay.
All right, we'll come back to that discussion then. Okay, so on here, we're going to look at this new section where it says student performance, and then we're going to be looking over the parts of the day. Like in Reader's Workshop and Writer's Workshop and Skills Block, whatever academic areas we have for the day, we're going to be looking at that.
Right, so us teaching first grade though, it says 8 periods on here, 8 subject areas. Well, we don't really have 8. And maybe she's a great mathematician, but she struggles in reading. So I won't have to address math in here, but I'll have to address reading.
No. Do you know what we're going to do? We're going to put math in here, and then it says that if she's attends regularly and punctual, we're going to check that as being a positive.
So strengths
And
and weaknesses.
Yes.
Okay.
So I know that's a little confusing because it's a little different than what we've done, but then we can look at her whole day and see if it's a certain point of the day she's having problems or a certain area she's having problems. It'll give us a better big picture.
You're right, it will. It'll make it real easy to see.
And then down here at the bottom it says check as required items are attached. And so down here at the bottom we need to look and see what we have to attach to this form. And that's really very easy to read and understand.
Oh, and over there beside it, it says person responsible. Oh, it says referring teacher pretty much all the way down. So I should be the person that looks for that stuff first, and if we encounter a problem finding it, then we could talk to Lauren or Liz about it, but we should try to find it first.
Yes,
Got
we
it.
need to be prepared.
And proactive.
And proactive.
All right.
All right. Now, I remember that when we're done with these 2 pages, we're going to turn them either into Lauren or Liz, depending on who our facilitator is.
That's right, because they said 4 weeks before you can be scheduled, because we have to have 4 weeks of interventions documented.
Absolutely.
So we get it on the books, then we have 4 weeks to do all the things we're getting ready to talk about, and then we can meet and talk about what's going on, if any improvements.
And see if it's working or not.
Cool.
So I'll make sure we turn that into Lauren. And we need to call Mom for a conference.
All right, that'll be easy. Or, you know what, I wonder if Mom could come in.
That would be great. Let's see if we can try to bring her in.
Okay.
And if we can't bring her in for a conference, we can always do a phone conference.
Because
I'd love to see her though.
Yeah, she does work a lot, and sometimes her work schedule is kind of hectic. So we'd like to bring her in, but if we can't bring her in, we can do it over the phone.
Do it over the phone.
Great.
Documentation is going to be okay with that.
Okay.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this parent conference summary that we're going to fill out when we conference with her.
Oh, so you're not going to write down what she talked about before you actually talked about it?
No, and you're not going to be talking about what you need to be discussing. You're going to talk about what was discussed.
Exactly.
And how Mom feels about things as well, because you know she's a single mom. And sometimes she's got a lot on her plate.
Right.
And so she's trying to do homework with her, I know, but it's not very good. But she might have some insight about what she sees going on with her as well.
And what we could do to help.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to put that to the side, and we need to decide what academic goals we need to set for her.
Okay, that says baseline data. All right, baseline. That would mean where she started from, correct?
Right now.
All right,
Correct.
so
we're going to be looking at any of her DRA scores, her DIBEL scores, work samples, classroom tests,
benchmark results.
anything like that we can put down as what we're going to look at. Now, I know she's having trouble in writing, but we need to decide where her biggest weakness is, and that needs to be our goal for right now. So I think fluency is her biggest issue right now. What about you?
I would absolutely agree with that. I think it's affecting her reading, and I think it's affecting her writing. So I think if we would address fluency, we're probably going to see a lot of improvement in those other 2 areas.
I think so too. So
Okay.
we can put down what her DRA score is, information about her DIBELs, and we can also put some information about when we're doing conferencing with her or running records with her, how her fluency is during that time.
Okay.
It's a little area
It is a
though,
little.
Randy. How are we going to fit all that?
What if we do, because DIBELs is very, very measurable and it's very standardized and everybody else is going by the exact same measurements, what if we did DIBELs? Because I think that most
That's
people
a
will
great
understand
idea.
that. Okay.
That's a really great idea. So we're going to try to find one thing that we can target and measure easily then.
So we could just put Betty Lou correctly reads 7 words when given the 1-minute time trial on the DIBELs.
Okay,
Right?
that sounds great.
Okay, which does put her in the intensive range, so they might want to put that on there too. I say
Right.
falls in the intensive range.
But what if I don't know that that was the intensive range? How can I find that out? What
Well-
if I just had her score and I really didn't know if that was intensive or not?
Well, if I pull it up on the PPRN, which has what I have my username and my password for, it's color coded. So the red is
Right.
intensive, anybody in yellow is strategic, anybody in green is initial, and then above average is in blue. Is that right?
I think that's right. And do you know what else too? I heard that, like our standards coaches have information about DIBELs, and they have a chart that you can look at.
You know who else has those? Target team members.
Target team members have those too.
Yes. And are they bothered if we like send them an email? I don't think they mind at all.
No, because I know that some people just keep them right handy for them.
We do. Like, okay, so we'll do that. We can either contact our literacy coach, or we can contact a target team member to help us figure out.
That sounds
range should
great,
be.
and we know that already because we did look at her score sheet. But sometimes we get confused and we need a place to look. That might be a great way to go.
All right, sounds good.
Measurable goal. Now,
Measurable.
Measurable.
Able
we
to
just
document.
what if we say we want Betty Lou to be able to read faster and understand what she's reading?
Well, I mean, I think that is something that we want. We do want her to read faster, and we do want her to be able to understand what she's reading, but I think it needs to be more concrete than that. Like,
Okay.
for example, on the Dibbles, I know that during the first assessment, she could read 7. Well, I know that in order to be out of the intensive range, she needed to be 11. But we really want to think about a little farther ahead than that. Like, where do we want her to be
At
in
the low
December?
risk. Okay.
Right. So that comes back to that sheet you were talking about that has that range on it.
Oh, that's right. So we might already have her score, but if we want to look at where her goal should be,
Where she needs to
we
be.
could look at one of those
Okay.
sheets from Dale or a target member or a facilitator, something like that.
Okay, well,
Okay.
someone will be able to help us with that. But I'll send down an email today and just say, for second assessment of the Dibbles, the oral reading fluency, what does she need to be? What's the range to be out of intensive into strategic?
That sounds great.
Okay.
We're going to document what our intervention is going to be with her, and we have to do this for 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. So at least a month, we need to be measuring her goals. So one thing I think is a great idea is to have small groups with her and some of her other children who are having some fluency issues.
You know what? You're exactly right, Debbie, because if we take a look at our diagnostic or even our Dibble spreadsheets, you will just be able to see very quickly who in your class is struggling in fluency. We could put Betty Lou and the rest of those children together, and we could do strategy groups.
That's a great idea. Oh, and guess what? You know what? Since Mom is a single mom, we could send home those passages, those fluency phrases,
We could talk to her
those
about
phrases.
that.
They're only 1 minute and something easy that Mom could work on. The short phrases would really help build her fluency when she takes those fluency passages
Right.
assessments.
And if Mom just looks completely shocked or appalled at that idea in our meeting, then we can say, you know what? There's a peer buddy, because Betty Lou, we talked about, works
Oh,
really
that's right, she
well
works
with
really well with
partners.
partners.
You know, there's an alternative to that. If it's difficult for Mom, or we could even do both. She could be double dipping at home and at school.
Great
She could
idea.
work with one of our other readers in the classroom, and she could read them off to her.
That sounds great.
Sounds good.
All right, so we're gonna make sure that we put the start date though. Really needs. Don't
Right.
forget that, so we know when
we
it's been a month.
started and when we implemented it.
Yes.
Okay.
And then so we're gonna monitor her progress. How are we gonna do that?
Okay, well, you know what? LearnWorks, such a great resource. But you know what she has? She has these alternate Dibbles probes, and she can get her hands on them just like that, and she's always happy to help, and she's always happy to give copies. But we could be using those to measure.
And target team members have those as well.
Absolutely. Gosh, those target team members,
They have everything you need.
they do have everything you
They
need.
are great. Okay. Well, guess what we can do? We can put her progress on an intervention data form, and we can monitor it through this graph to see if she's making progress or not.
We want to bring this with us to target team when we come.
Yes!
Because this will
Because,
make the
you know
target
what?
team.
If Betty Lou is making progress, we're going to see it in the graph. And if she's
Yes.
not making progress, we're going to see that easily in the graph.
And target team members might sing if we bring documentation of interventions.
You might sing that data song again.
You sing ta, sing ta.
See? All right. Well, I think that once we're done with this and we've met with Mom, we've conferenced with her, we've documented that, we've done 4 weeks of interventions with her, and
Wait.
recorded.
Stop. We want to go over this with Mom, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This sheet right here that says Parent Conference Summary and Documentation of Interventions is what we talk to Mom about when we meet with her in the conference. So like go
Yes.
together hand in hand.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Does it make a little bit more sense?
That makes
then?
more sense now.
I know it's hard with all these forms, but we've already given those 2 to Lauren, so we're really only thinking about 3 right now.
Okay.
Conferencing with Mom
Got it?
to tell her what we're going to do and how we're going to measure it
Right?
and keep our documentation.
Okay.
And then, at the bottom right here, it says review of intervention results.
Mm-hmm.
And after that 4 weeks, we're going to look at this graph
Right?
to see if she's making progress or not making progress.
Okay.
And at that time, we'll be be the same time we're ready to go to our target meeting with our facilitators.
And you know what?
and the team.
I bet we should bring that with us.
We should bring all this information and probably any forms that we have in class that show her results as well.
Awesome. Okay, so we could bring an up-to-date running record, we could bring the CUME folder, we can bring all of these
And
sheets.
if you don't take the CUME folder, they tend to get a little tired of having to go get the CUME folder, so we need to make sure that we have it.
I've heard Debbie Harbor's really grouchy.
She has to get up all the time and go get the CUME folders, and so, especially when we're in the other room.
Not her job.
So make sure that we have that CUME folder. We'll make sure that we have these 3 forms. We'll make sure we have all of her documentation
Work samples?
and
Even?
work samples.
Okay.
All right, sounds
All right,
great.
we sound
High
good.
five. Thank you.
All right.